This is a great public service, by the way. Seth, I don't know Seth. I just know who he is. He did a story last week about good real estate legislation filed. This week, he's doing a thread on bad real estate. And next week is very bad real estate laws that are proposed. So scrolling down, here are the bad real estate laws. One, broker fees. The housing issues that got the most attention in recent months has been the question of whether the state should prohibit renters from paying fees of brokers contracted by landlords. It's easy to understand why renters might want this. It makes it seem like renters just keep the fee in their pocket instead of paying it to the broker. In reality, of course, it's more complicated. The cost of the broker has to be covered somehow, and the only realistic way will be to increase rents. And actually, if you keep the apartment for more than a year, then that broker fee actually gets built into your rent for the entire time you're there. So you actually end up spending more money. It's actually a rent increase. The killing of the broker fees will actually raise rents. And we could probably do a whole special on that. But yeah, color me and you surprised. Would it shock you that a piece of legislation intended to sound so good, like how could anybody be against it, actually had the opposite effect? That wouldn't be the first time. And that's what happened with broker fees. It will actually make rents go up. 90-day leases would prohibit property owners from requiring tenants to sign a lease more than 3 months before the expiration of their current lease. This is completely insane because, like, right now it's April, and most of your Boston apartments expire September 1st. So a lot of your landlords are saying, hey, if you want to rent this for the next school year, you've got to sign a lease now in April. Otherwise, we need to prepare to rent the apartment out. If this goes into effect, then landlords won't be able to ask you that question until the June-ish, if I have my dates right. And that will all of a sudden compact the rental market activity all into 90 days or less, which is going to reduce choice. And yeah, what a nightmare. And this one here, I think, has the most easily understandable question here. Landlords are liable for tenants committing crimes. Most of the confounding bills in this category are blah, 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 which would hold landlords legally and financially liable for illegal activity that happens at their properties and for police expenses incurred while responding to such activity. In case it's not obvious why these policies are bad, criminals are the ones that should be held accountable for criminal activity, not the landlords who in many cases are being victimized by said activity. Bingo, Seth. If those doing crime live in the property, landlords are legally forbidden from removing them, except via an extended court process. Man, what an awful who's respond. My team will be reaching out to Bruce Ayers. Oh God, what a himbo. And James Murphy to discuss these bills. As written, they punish good actors and disincentivize police cooperation and harm residents and landlords. No winners here. No, that's a horrific concept. The last one is much more complex. Algorithmic rent setting rules. So there is a strong antitrust case to be made relative to algorithmic rent setting rules. And not to get too complex here, but there are some big companies that take all of their data about how much a one-bedroom apartment costs, a two-bedroom, and they send it to a third party. And a bunch of other companies send it to the same third-party company. And then that third-party company runs an algorithm and then spits out a rent recommendation to the members of that send their data in. That is kind of like antitrust violation by third party. And I'm very suspicious of that. Not a big fan of that. Not a big fan of that. And I think there is a big case moving forward regarding that in antitrust court, federal court. But these pieces of legislation, the problem with these pieces of legislation is that all three bills have definition of prohibitive behavior, which are so broad they can be reasonably interpreted to include a landlord looking at the average rent price on Zillow. You know, if you want to rent an apartment or sell a house, let's just say rent apartment, and you're like, okay, I have an apartment for rent in Charlestown. It's a 2-bedroom apartment, 1 bath. Let's go to Zillow. Oh, a 2-bedroom, 1 bath apartment in Charlestown is X amount of dollars, and on average, it rents for. That's just normal market research. Duh. You're not colluding with any. You're just doing research. There's nothing wrong with that. I do have a big problem with the other people that are pooling all of their data into one pool of data and then spitting out a one recommendation that goes back. That is definitely problematic. But these really ham-handed pieces of legislation that effectively prohibit you from doing any type of non-collusive market price discovery, as Seth describes it, are ridiculous. And they don't seem bad. They're just way too expansive in these definitions, and probably also not necessarily required, because we do have this antitrust case that's coming down the pipe on this topic. It's just adding on, right? And again, just like banning broker fee, and then you get the opposite effect of increasing rents. Almost all of these things, again, reflective of Maura Healey's policies all over. Most of the liberal policies, they sound great. That's how you get everybody to vote for them. And then the impact is like, that's not what we wanted. The Affordable Care Act is not making care affordable. The Inflation Reduction Act is not reducing inflation.